All right. We'll start with one of the most complicated projects. Team 3, you guys will be first. Kevin, ready to jump into it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so give me a second here.
Why are we complicated? I thought we were easy. This is how not to do it, guys. Okay, pay attention. Okay, what do you want to talk about first?
So let's go do a full report out. Start with your project brief. And so go through the project brief and then move over to your schedule and show us your schedule. And we'll see if everyone agrees with it or not.
Okay. All right, so are you going to share your screen or do I need to share mine?
No, I
or
can
what?
go ahead. Let me share the screen. Give me a second here. Just tell me where you want me to move it to.
You were
Actually, if you want to, you can share. You know what? I can let you share. Maybe you should do it.
Okay.
Give me a second. All right, you now are enabled.
I have the power.
You have the power.
All right. Now I just got to figure out how to do it. Okay. Is it in, oh, it's in Zoom, huh?
Yep.
All right.
Just down at the bottom it says share. Click on share, and then pick the screen or the window.
Okay, can you guys all see it?
Yep.
Okay, so we started out, our project is a parking lot expansion. It is, the scope of the project is constructing a 6,000 square foot asphalt parking lot, and it's an expansion onto an existing parking lot. We gave ourselves a time frame of 3 months, the 20th of December, and we gave ourselves a budget of $150,000 for this project. Our statement of work, it includes underground electrical, water, asphalt, curbing, striping, and landscaping. We actually don't have it in there, but it also includes some underground plumbing as well for water, for the irrigation. What's not included is groundwork and grading, parking lot lighting, and then the gate and any surrounding fencing, which is already in place. Change orders are not included in that budget and must be added on extra. Okay, we had 4 people on our team. We had JJ, myself, Susie, and Josh. And we all worked together. We come from different backgrounds, and everybody was able to give good input on this. Some of our assumptions going into this was that the materials and resources would be available. We would have cooperative weather, being that this is an outdoor project that is going to be happening in the fall. The possibility for rain and delays based on weather or other issues are there. The other assumption was that we would be able to get a timely contract with a vendor or contractors for the work. And then the final assumption was that our work would be able to be performed during normal business hours and there would be no overtime accrued for our contractors. Some of the risks that we highlighted were right now construction demands are high and we might not be able to secure a contract. Bad weather conditions, as we stated, possible rain, materials and resources availability, whether or not our already provided site prep was acceptable, and if we were unable to perform this work during the day. So, meaning that they would have to work overtime. So we budgeted this in dollars. Our normal business hours were outlined as 7 to 5. Because this is a secure facility, the gate would need to be open or access would have to be granted outside of those hours. We put a few abbreviations in there too. GM for general manager. So the other thing we noted on there was type of, in our parking lot, which doesn't have anything to do with our actual project. It was just things that we needed to specify. So type of landscaping, locations, number of parking spots, and then whether or not the asphalt would need to be sealed separately than the install. We did some research on our assumptions of costs, various contractors, as well as internal project planning and management. So there were some risks that our rates are wrong, because a lot of these were assumptions. And then so there is that inherent risk. Go up to our WBS, and we had it all laid out, including permits. And we were able to kind of get everything lined out into categories, which kind of put us in line for our schedule. So do you want me to go through all these, Jess? Or just go to the schedule?
Just go to schedule. Just go to your dollar amount there. And
so what we came up with was, this was actually just labor that we were looking at, of planning and actual labor costs of what was assumed, and our total labor costs. And these numbers are wrong. I will say that right now, because as some of you guys might have noticed, the tags change when everybody edits them. And so none of the math adds up anymore. We changed it 2 or 3 times, and finally we're just like, we're tired of changing these. The math just quit adding up. So we checked it a couple times today and it was wrong. So the budget was $150,000. It doesn't include any materials. And this is just our labor costs. So if we step over here to our schedule and we zoom in on week 1, week 1, we're just developing our site plan and solidifying our actual scope. This is all internal planning. And then we step over with a total cost investment of $400. Our total weekly amount for week 2 is more planning. So as you can see, we went 3 weeks on our solidification of scope. And so we split that over the weeks. We identified the criticals in our scope of work and made them known here. And then we defined our minimum requirements for our contractors in hopes to solidify our contract with them. We also put in there a little bit of research on compatibility of products to make sure that we were using similar products as to what was already in the parking lot, so that everything jived well together. And we kept a running total so we could see if we were on task and on our budget. And then it highlighted in orange, you can note, is our critical path. We then step over into our contracts area where we develop a contract, and that's where we hit our first milestone. And so where we have a signed contract and we are in business to actually begin the construction process. Permits are on the bottom. And then we get with financial to coordinate progress payments based on progress of the project, to make sure that contractors get paid on a timely basis so that they keep coming to work and making the project keep moving forward. We step down into the actual project beginning, boots on the ground for the vendors, and we coordinate start times and various other access to the facility, coordinate our time with our with the production facility so as not to impede their process while new work is begun outside on the parking lot. We've got underground plumbing that needed to take place. In the case that they needed to come in and shut the water off, they could do that in non-working hours. and they could make special arrangements back on 3.1. We put that in there so that they could gain access and shut down utilities while they tied in. So we went to our two different splits, our main two undergrounds, electrical and plumbing. And then they had underground inspections at that point, which was the next milestone, which is where everything on the surface could bury the underground stuff. And so that was where we thought a good point for a milestone would be. So there would be project payouts at that point, most likely. And then we step up to the final installations. So electronic gate control and then paving. So we have above ground plumbing for the irrigation. And then we had to do coordinate paving and painting of parking lot lines with the asphalt contractor as well as the site to make sure that they didn't block the entire parking lot off during that time. And then try not to bring in the heavy equipment during a shift change. We continued to move on. It's pretty straightforward. Just coordination, placement of parking spots, placement of electric gate controls, managing installations, where to place the landscaping and sprinklers, just from more of a design placement. And then these were our next milestones as well. So once the paving is done and they're actually painting parking lot lines, that was where we thought was a good milestone for that. And then also coordinating a final startup between the electrician and the fence, the electric gate controller. So those two contractors will get together for that part. And moving on, go to our final irrigation controls and programming. And then everything's culminating down here at the bottom. Our permits are approved. And then we have our final inspections. So above ground plumbing inspection, there's minimal. Same with the electrical. And we hit our final milestone. And when all the boxes have been ticked of our scope of work, the warranty period would begin at that point. And we tallied up our running total. And as I told you before, the numbers don't add up to what our original budget was because the money kept changing. So this is what it actually added up to the last time Susie added it all up. So that's the basic plan. As you can see, it's done in a 14-week period. We gave ourselves 3 months for this due to weather. So the whole project could potentially get put on hold due to outdoor weather conditions and then just reconvene when the weather cleared up. So based on this schedule, we would be well under our time frame. And even though the money is very wrong, we still think that we would be under our budget that we put forth on this one as well. So if we stepped back to our original scope of work, do we go to the work breakdown? Is that what you want us to compare it to?
No, just go back to your project brief. So
Okay.
basically you're saying your dollar wise, you're not sure, but are you going to hit the December 20th?
Yeah, we would
If
have
weather holds?
Yeah, if weather holds, we should have no problem hitting that.
Okay.
Actually be early. And so we kind of padded the time frame based on the weather and the supplies.
Okay.
So by setting that big of a time frame, as long as we manage the contractors, we should be able to hit those goals.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions for them?
I got one. How do you start work before your permits are approved?
So we put in submitting the permits. And so I guess our terminology probably is a little bit off.
Okay.
From a legal standpoint, you're not allowed to begin work until your permits are approved. But based on the current process, if you have plans and your permits are requested, you can begin work with the delays right now. It's just not advisable because if they don't accept your permits, they'll make you go back and change them. And you can't have any inspections until that stuff is approved. So,
So yeah, exactly. So Bill, I asked the same question about the permit piece. So at this point, the plan is to move forward, be ahead of the schedule based on the current, what county are you in?
we're in Butte County.
You're in Butte County. Okay.
Actually, I think that's the one you added in there, Jess. The
Yeah, that's the one I said, permits takes a long time. And that's why I
Yeah.
asked you originally, because you had permits being done right away. And so
Yeah.
usually there's a period of time before you get feedback from the county. And then you got to go make some modifications because they always find something. Always. You can guarantee that. And then at some point you actually start the work. So back to your original schedule, you may be early, but the odds are you probably won't be able to actually
Yeah.
start until they
Yeah.
give you the first round of feedback.
Yeah, actually, and that's probably true there in week 4. If we were to get the contract, that might be where there's a big delay, is between the contract and the actual beginning of work. On this schedule, we assumed that the permit was in hand and then work began the very next week in week 5. So yeah, good catch.
So that's the risk. That's the risk there.
Mhm.
And it's always, I can tell you in construction, it's always going to be the count. It's going to be the permits and not, that can vary anywhere from 2 weeks to months.
Yeah.
God forbid you got to ask PG&E for something.
That's the,
Yeah,
and
you
that's
just
the other
add
one
it to
is,
years.
right. That's the other thing. You're right. You're in PG territory. So yeah, the other one is utilities.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with utilities. So yeah, those are the big challenge, especially when it comes to actual construction. And again, it's one of those things whether you're acting as the general contractor or one of your subcontractors is acting as the general contractor.
Exactly.
But in this case, this is the conversation you and I had as to you plan to act as the general contractor in this particular case.
Correct.
Okay. Other questions and comments?
I had one in weeks 11 and 12 and 13. There isn't any costs there. Is that a buffer time towards the end of the contract to in case you ran into delays ahead of time?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had lots of buffer time built into our 90-day project. So yeah, we only used about half of it for the actual work just because of delay potential due to weather or permits like Jess just pointed out. So those costs would move if there was a delay, say between week 7 and 8, everything would just shift.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
if the inspector doesn't, everything stops until the inspector signs off, and then you can proceed and close things up. Otherwise, it stays open.
Yeah, and that's like where we pointed out the underground here in week 6. The underground inspection, nothing can move forward. You can't bury anything until those inspections are done and satisfied. So you're at the mercy of the inspector essentially on those.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Yeah, so the same question Bill, we had already talked about the whole permit process as the questionable. To me, that's probably your highest risk on this project along with weather. There are things you can do to influence the permit side, but you cannot control it. And like I said, they always will find something. The question is, how many cycles can you influence to minimize the number of cycles? Okay, so let's hear from the team.
I have a quick question,
Yep.
Jess, and mainly, I guess, for you. Since their budget is $150,000 and their total cost after they did the schedule is only $20,000 or they 20 something thousand, do they go back and change their budget on the
No, because what's not included in this is the material, the entire material side or the contractor side. So in their case, really what the big, well, internally they have their own oversight, but all the actual work is being done externally by subcontractors, multiple subcontractors. So that would fall under the acquisition number. So that number actually makes sense to be very large as compared to their number internally.
Yeah,
But since I told
just
them
did a
don't,
project. Go ahead.
yeah, I basically what I told you guys, don't worry about the material side. Don't worry about that. Let's just look at the hours. And so you can see how you calculate the hours. But yeah, you would have to include that, you have to create a budget for the asphalt guy. You have to budget for the plumbing guy or the piping guy and then for the fence. And so you would have, 3 different numbers for those guys. It includes materials as well.
Yeah, we're just finishing another project right now, and the total budget was 1.1 million, and what we actually saw was about 250,000 of
Mhm.
that. Everything else was supplementary from the contractors.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to construction, I'm sure, Chewy, when you do work on your construction project, your side of the equation is going to be much smaller than the actual total, right? Small percentage of the total. And so, but for the purpose of the exercise, we did that, but you do need to come up with a budget for each of the subcontractors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So from the team members, your experience doing all this entire class.
I can start, I guess. My experience with the class is it's
Yeah.
been tough.
Can you hold on for a second? Can you
Yes.
share? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can do.
So my experience with this class, it has given me insights into value that I never really focused on before. I have a contractor's license, and I come from the background of, planning, executing, and finalizing, and then going all the way down to the accounting side from a small business standpoint. And so for me, I was always stepping right to the schedule and the cost. And so that was what I was always jumping to make my plans. And after so many years, I started finding, okay, this is what I actually calculated out. I kind of always knew, okay, now add 50%.
Yeah.
Because those are the things I forgot. And it always actually worked out really good. This seems like a much better way to work together as a team. And that's the difference, coming from a small point of view to a larger team point of view, especially more towards a corporate side. This one makes sure that you don't leave those little gaps and cracks in the project that could turn around and bite you.
Yep.
So.
Good. Good.
So we got Susie and Josh.
My opinion on this, I think I had no idea what I was getting into. But I really feel like it has benefited a lot, has helped me see, this project, I have no clue, the process. If it weren't for Kevin, I would be completely lost as to what is needed into the project. But it helps to see, this is the project, this is our budget, this is everything we need, and all the moving parts and all the moving people that take part in the project and how their ideas or their insight can take place into the project. So I really think I will have a different mindset moving forward, especially with all the projects coming into the plant. So thank you.
Good.
Yeah, pretty much same feedback for me as well. We've never really had a real formal outline or flow to follow when we have a project. We know what needs to be done usually and who to reach out to and how to gather the information and pricing, but we never have had like a formal way to follow things and not miss things really. So I think it's going to be super helpful going forward. We, like Susie mentioned, have a lot of projects coming up. some that have already started. But just having the flow that everyone can kind of see and put their input into and collaborate really is kind of a game changer, I would say.
You want me to share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead and share the screen.
All right, can everybody see that okay? Cool. All right, so our project was the ClockShark user onboarding project. Basically, let's do that. Okay. That means is we're working to develop a new and effective onboarding process in our mobile app for our end users. And this is going to be done with our third-party tool that we already use, which is called Intercom. It's a messaging and support tool that all of the end users already have access to in their ClockShark mobile app. But this project is focused on utilizing a new feature of this third-party tool to enhance the onboarding process. So we originally had a due date of December 7th. And we ended up, after going through the schedule and the process, having a finished completion date of November 27th. Same with our budget. We initially budgeted for 480 hours at $52 an hour. So that's one of our assumptions, is the hourly rate of our employees doing the work plus about 30% margin on top of that. So it was 24,000. After the whole process, we ended up with 258 hours, just over, for 13, just over 13.5 almost in budget. So save some money there. No real scientific reason why that was done. The budget hours was more of kind of a guess based on when we were originally doing the process in the beginning. So. Statement of work, what was included in this project is the development, working with Intercom, which is our third-party tool, the messaging design, messaging creation, creating the welcome video, beta testing. And what's not included was any other upgrades or updates to the app, support for existing users, any other functions related to Intercom or the slides, the onboarding feature, and then any outside media production. Project team members were Mike, Krista, Jamie, Julie, and myself. We had quite a few challengers in this group at first to start with, so we had to kind of reorganize and see who wanted to do what. But we ended up working out pretty well. We all worked out really well together. So assumptions for the brief: the budget we will have the hours available, assuming where we can pull resources from other projects. So pulling engineering or marketing from other projects they're working on to work on this, and that during our beta testing, after the feature is built out, troubleshooting it, and we capture any issues with it, and go live is completed without concerns. And then the assumption for the hourly rate, $52 an hour. Risks were pretty simple. This is a pretty simple project, so we could go over budget on hours needed, and not being able to pull resources from other teams. It was pretty simple risks. Some interesting data stuff. So mobile carousel is the name of the feature inside the third-party tool that we were using, or that we're going to be using. That's what we have to create. End user is the employee in the field using the ClockShark mobile app. Budget, and then SDK, you might see that's the software development kit. So that's basically what we get from the third party to create this feature. All right. So move forward to the schedule. All right, so week 1, September 15th, pretty easy first week. We're just determining the onboarding specific objectives. So basically figuring out what we want to do with this onboarding once we have the feature installed and enabled. It's kind of a high level plan to develop what we want to do with the onboarding. And then that leads to developing the project brief. We have a milestone here of the project brief being approved, and then kind of filters off of decide on the performance metrics, and then start some work that actually goes along with that. So after the project brief is approved, we can scope the work to be done on the upgrade to Intercom, which is the third-party tool. So we have to upgrade that before we can add this new feature. And then we're also just going to scope the work to create the templates for the mobile carousels. So that's creating the actual work that goes in the onboarding feature in the third-party tool. From there, we developed the WBS. And then after that, we schedule check-ins. So we kind of get the project scheduled, schedule the work to be done to upgrade the software SDK for Intercom, and then schedule the work to create the messaging templates. That leads us to our next milestone, which is a project schedule. And from there, the work begins, right? So we have a few different things going on: designing the images for the welcome video, writing the welcome video script. And then now that we've installed this SDK from our third-party tool, just working with them to make sure everything is installed correctly. So working with Intercom to do that. Hold on, schedule. Okay, so working with them and then installing it. Sorry, I got turned around there for a minute. So working with them to get access to it and then installing that SDK. Also once we have it installed, creating the templates, creating the templates outside of Intercom, so we can just port them into Intercom then once it's in there. At the same time, we're recording the welcome video, testing it out, and then uploading the video. Once we have that video done, and the templates done for these mobile carousel slides, we can then basically create the new slides in Intercom. And that's our next milestone, is having these slides completed. Once those slides are completed, we're able to test the new feature that we have. And that's like internal testing in the Intercom program. And after that, we can test it in the mobile app. So we actually go through testing in our ClockShark mobile app. And then that's internal as well. And after that, we select a beta target, participants for beta tests. So we go through and find some end users, contact them, conduct the beta test, analyze the feedback. There we can decide we'll accept or reject any of the beta test results, make those adjustments. And then, this will be communicate access information to activation team. It's a simple way of stating go live, essentially, or get ready to go live. So we're going to communicate with them and then schedule and confirm it. The implementation leads to our most important, or not most important, but really good milestone of launching the new onboarding tour in our app. And then after that, we have to monitor it. So in software, a lot of what we do is we do things and then it's like an experiment. So we have to do a lot of monitoring after that to see if it's working, how it's working, and if we need to change stuff. So we begin monitoring and then celebrate after that. The red stickies is the critical path. So that's the longest duration, which ends up being about 41 days. And 4 months after that of just monitoring. So the monitoring will be a continuous process going forward. And
So you want to show the numbers down at the bottom because you actually calculated your run rate
yeah, so as
and percentages.
Yeah, and the percentages, because we don't have outside materials, we didn't have to buy any new software, we didn't have to get any contractors hired to do anything. Our dollar figures and hours were strictly just based on that $52 an hour and the number of hours needed to work. So you can kind of see through this process here. It was interesting when we were doing this, we kind of questioned it for a second. We're like, wait, why are these percentages the same? So you have 16 hours, which is $832. So the percentages are, 17%, 6.2%, 27.1, and it's the same on the hours. So they actually funnel straight through all the way to the end. But first that kind of threw us off for a minute, but it's because it's the same number essentially. So
It should be.
yep, should be right. If it was different, yeah. After we thought about it, we're like, well, yeah, if that's different, then that'd be bad news. So something went wrong. So
Okay, questions
yeah.
for this team?
So my only question was, when you have a start-to-start connection between tasks, shouldn't they be on top of each other, like right there?
Yeah, that's a start to start. But you can have a.
Sorry.
So here's the other thing. You can have start to start with an offset. Right, so it can be offset. They both start. I mean, with the driver is the starting point, but it could be offset by a day or 2 days because it's one of those tasks that can float. It's not on the critical path. So you can have offsets. So again, if you're doing a forward pass, it's a float. It's float. If you're doing it backwards, it's slack. Either way, it moves, and so you can have offsets as long as they start within X number of days. Sorry, Jamie. Was that going to be your answer? Other questions? Okay, if you could stop sharing and have the team go through and reflections.
Yeah, my reflections, I guess I'll go first real quick. Before this, we always would just write a bunch of stuff down in a paragraph on a document and then create a project, as I would call it, and try to get stuff done. And there's no organization. So for me, this is a lot, this will help a lot in our departments that aren't our engineering department when we're doing our own projects. And it'll create better organization, better structure, realizing costs and the time to actually take to do stuff. So that's what I got the most out of it.
Good. Good.
I'll go next. I think I have a lot of learnings from this class, and a lot of them are centered around where I have gaps in the way I've been running projects and how I can help fill in those gaps with the knowledge learned here. And ultimately, I think my life's going to be easier and the people on my team's lives are going to be easier with those gaps filled in, and the project will be hopefully more successful.
Good.
I'll go next. So for me, the big takeaway from this class is the tools that have been provided specifically for the softer parts of project management, like team building. I think this is an invaluable tool for that, and communicating. For me, this is such an accessible way to organize the information, so anybody coming from any place can see what you're talking about, and everybody's on the same page. And I think that is incredible. So for that alone, I'm super grateful to have participated in this.
Good. Miss Julie?
Thank you. I've really enjoyed the class, mostly because of the tools. I didn't really have a lot of training, and so I know exactly where I am and where I need to be. And sometimes I've just been working by myself, and it's great to have a tool to give a visual to other people as to my progress and where I'm at, because I really do have to explain myself and where I'm at in my project. So I really appreciate the tool to be able to use to communicate that better.
Yeah, so this is a Husker project that we're actually are in the middle of right now. So can you blow that up a little bit? I can't see it.
Okay.
Sorry, my eyes are absolutely failing on me.
That's all right.
Anyway, so the scope of the project is to upgrade all the huskers and aspirators in our main mill. Project manager is Ralph. Like I said, I don't know where he's at. The budgetary costs with equipment plus install materials, I think we said was we didn't get that far actually. I think it was 730 something thousand.
Okay.
Sorry, being gone last week really crippled us. Unfortunately, this project got away from us a little bit. Had we had this a couple of months back, probably we would have been okay.
So basically, you guys can jump right into reflection. You guys I think you guys did a good job on the WBS portion. I know that all of you were, I think there was only one of you here last week, and you guys missed a lot.
It was just Eric Friday.
Yeah, it was just Eric on Friday, but I know you guys.
Oh, there's Ralph. Ralph's in charge.
Ralph's in charge. All right, Ralph. Why don't you guys go straight into your reflections? Thoughts?
So our reflection, like I said earlier, we spent a lot of time on the mechanical side, and we kind of neglected on the electrical side. I think we might have shortchanged the electrical, what needed to be done. We talked to the contractor, and they give us, I guess, a false statement on when they were going to be done or prepped, actually, on wiring up equipment and stuff. So I think we need to have a closer relationship, communication with the electrical side and see where we're at on the PLC and wiring is where our hang up was.
Okay. Well, what about the class?
The class, oh shoot, man, this class is really, we learned a lot. We've learned a lot where we're missing a lot of the planning stages and where to, how to get everybody responsible for different departments. And we're also not, we didn't involve a lot of our food safety and also our safety at the beginning of the planning stages and at the end. So what we need to do is make up a checklist and see what all we need to have and make sure we check the boxes and along with the planning stages. So we definitely did need this class to help us.
Okay, well, good. So who wants to go next? Darius?
I'll go next. This is Darius. I think actually what hurt us a little bit going into the class is the fact that we used a live project. I think that probably was an error. When we first decided to do that, it was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. We can see as we go, things that are going wrong or whatever. But the problem is the stages of the project and the stages of the class were in different places. So we weren't going in order. It actually hurt us to be further along in the project than in the process of developing the project. So it's like we were jumping ahead. Even when we're just having conversations with ourselves, we kept jumping ahead to, well, this isn't working out. Well, wait a minute, we don't even know anything about that yet, in as far as the class is concerned. So that was kind of a mistake. But as far as the class is concerned specifically, I know one of my biggest problems is I'm horribly disorganized. I can picture a lot of things in my head at one time, but they get kind of jumbled when I go to actually start laying them out. So having this to kind of take you from start to finish is a real benefit for me on that level. It's like I've been doing this a long time and I've done a lot of projects, but I've always run into that issue where things start to kind of blend together on me. So by having them laid out and separated that way, and then have a progression of work, to me, that's the biggest benefit.
Good. Who's next?
Eric? Or Rolando.
It was a good class. I enjoyed it. I liked it. Got a lot out of it. Like the groups, how you could separate us into groups and we all get to input a little bit of the things in there. So it was a good class.
Good. Good. Who's missing?
This is Eric.
Eric.
Yep. The tools that the class gave us to schedule opened my eyes to a lot of areas that we normally don't see. We don't anticipate. So what Darius said about us starting this class mid-project, it did cause us to stumble a little bit while we're setting everything up. But the class gave me a lot of good tools to go forward with.
Okay, good. Did you enjoy the class, Eric?
Yes, I did.
Good. All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And I know you guys had, challenges at the end of last week. So, Ralph, if you want, I made this offer to Eric on Friday. If you guys still want a little more, the part you kind of missed on Friday, I'll be happy to sit down with you guys and just the four of you, and I can go over the stuff that we did last Friday. So give you an understanding so you can start connecting some of this a little bit better. I mean, you guys did a good job trying to do that. Just let me know. I'll be happy to do it.
Okay. Then also, I wouldn't mind if you guys got further classes on this stuff. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, we are actually. Kate just texted me and asked me to remind everybody of the upcoming classes, so we can talk about that at the end here.
I guess I'll go ahead and present our information. Should I just click on share screen?
Yep. And then pick the screen you want to share.
Oh.
Make sure it's not the one with all the numbers, all right?
Yeah, where's our Miro stuff?
I don't know. Where is it? Or do you want me to do it for you?
Maybe you ought to do it. Honestly, I don't see it. I've seen project management schedule. Is that it? No, that's what we were working on. That's what Chewy sent me. Is it white? No, it's not whiteboard. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it as an option to pick.
Interesting. Okay. Let me. All right. I'll drive for you.
Sounds good. Okay, so our project was a ERP inventory flow implementation. So what ERP stands for is Enterprise Resource Planning. And because that's such a large and daunting project in and of itself, we isolated down to just the inventory module piece to try to make it more manageable for this exercise. Project scope was to implement the inventory module, to develop inventory tracking, which was a combination of both data capture at the source point out in the plant and making sure we had devices and hardware and training for those that were going to be involved in that. And then fully trained and implemented was sort of the final point that we knew we were done. The project manager, we had a due date of June 7th, 2021, which was simply the end of the 30 weeks starting with September 15th. As you'll see at the end, we estimated when we finally got to the scheduling that we were going to extend out about 3 weeks. The budget, we had 500,000 in total, which was broken up between 300,000 external and 200,000 internal. Statement of work included external costs only in terms of hard dollar costs, which was out of pocket we would spend to pay for third-party consultants. The internal allocation of hours was included, and then we just costed those to arrive at a dollar figure. Did not include the cost of the hardware or the cloud server if we were going to go with a server or a SaaS approach, software as a service. And it did not include the hardware associated with the network or essentially the server itself or any of the connectivity within the system or within the building. We assumed the selection of software had already been done and the direct costs of the software were also excluded. So we're just talking about implementation of the software that we've already purchased. Project team members, we had originally just had the 4 of our team in here, but upon reflection, we recognize this needs a number of subject matter experts. So we added in on our internal side, our sales manager, Josh, production manager, Chewy, and supervisors, Alex, Michelle, and JJ. We had an inventory control person designated to the project. Material handlers for the device, remote device, and the remote data capture implementation portion. We recognized we had sponsors on the project, which in this case we designated the executive team that actually is who is sponsoring the project. This is a live project or will be going through. Chewy as a plant manager will be heavily involved. Our logistics coordinator, director, Blanca will be involved. Human resources will be involved. And then we have our outside consultants will help with the project. They'll really be the sort of the outside leader of the project. And then we need the accounting team, which is Susie, Veronica, and Elizabeth, and our information systems person internally, as well as the consultants will provide some horsepower to help us with that as well. So that's that part. So now breaking it out by week, this was a bit of a challenge for us because we had a number of WBS items that crossed over multiple weeks, if not many weeks. So it was a bit of a challenge trying to keep track of the time by week when that activity crossed over weeks. But we essentially started with developing, assembling the team, getting the team kicked off, getting the project kicked off, and then identifying where we needed areas of expertise, and essentially that's where subject matter expertise, making sure we've got the right people on the team. I don't know if we want to go through all the detail here, Jess. But
I don't think you need to. Yours is much more complicated than
yeah,
any of the others.
I
mean, you can jump to what did you guys learn through this process in regards to this?
yeah, I mean, from my point of view, the idea of creating a structure and a framework around how to manage projects is a great concept and a great area for me to help carry forward with the ERP project overall. I can see this being a valuable resource for a lot of the managers in the company who will become project managers or are already managing projects. The company has recognized that we need to up our game in terms of both management, leadership, and execution. And this, I can see this being both a helpful tool for that, but also to provide some standardization and consistency among all the projects going on. We have any number of projects going on at any one time. So it'd be really helpful for that. And for me personally, the learning process was putting the pieces all together. I'd been involved in a number of projects, and there's various ways of doing things. This is a nice introduction, but also immersive step-by-step process through how to do this. And it's something that can be useful at any level. And I'd encourage our folks that are on this in this training and on the next training to not wait for the executive team or their manager to tell them to start using it. Start using some of these principles as soon as your next project comes up.
Good. You can pick the next person.
Chewy.
Perfect. So what I learned was how to utilize a new method. And tools as far as the Miro tool. I really enjoyed working with it. Never really brainstormed like that in the past. Like I mentioned in other, at the end of the class where we talked about brainstorming. Brainstorming in my experience has always been out loud and everybody shouting out ideas and this and that. And learning how to brainstorm in silence, I think that was one of the key things I took out of this too. I really think I'm going to start using Miro tools starting tomorrow. I really, really enjoyed it. It's very easy, intuitive to use. I can teach the rest of the team how to use it, so we can start talking the same language and using the same tools. And yeah, just learning how to get organized and attacking a project on the same methodology every single time is going to put us on the same page moving forward.
Good. Good. You get to pick the next person.
I'll go next. Guys doesn't have to go. Hey, I like the whole, if you're doing a construction project and you're the sponsor, you can kind of look outside and say, oh, they're digging forms, oh, they're pouring concrete, oh, their walls are up, whatever. And so you can really follow the schedule and kind of get a general idea of how things are going. On less hands-on projects, I think this is a great way to kind of have the proof behind the narrative of, your project manager comes in and says, oh, we're on budget, we're on schedule, and really all you can look at is the budget and how, the checking account, how much has been spent, versus if they have this tool, all the steps, you can see the whole picture from beginning to end, and not, not that our team is lying or cheating or anything about it, but it just gives you the confidence that they know what they're doing and you're on schedule, and you can move on to the next worry of business rather than worry about some little project that is or isn't on schedule. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. I love the tools. I still prefer in person on everything. Not that
I don't disagree with you, but this is the closest thing we can get to that.
I know. No, but I enjoyed the class immensely, and I wish I could have participated more on the other day, but I think my team did a great job.
Good. So on our end, actually we're after time, but I will send an email out with the survey, and I would appreciate if you guys would actually take the survey. Like I said, this is the first time we've done it with a open class like this. We've done it with clients and it's just their staff over the last couple of months, but definitely would be interested to hear your feedback on the tools and how this worked. Like you, Bill, my preference has been, and ask Guy, I've been kind of struggling with, we can only do this in person, but I think this has proven that we can, and still make it engaging. So I really appreciate everything that you guys have done in the class. Appreciate the feedback that I've gotten on and off camera, and so I really appreciate that. Guy, do you want to add anything to the session?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us for these 6 sessions and a little bit more time here and going through this. And as you do those surveys, honest and open feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, we can only improve our classes and the value we bring to these sessions with that honest feedback. So anything you can put on there would be great. And we are a resource for you guys to reach out to at any point in time. Don't hesitate if you're working on this, whether it be in Miro, working on a project, you got questions. We'd be happy to take a look at some stuff for you and provide some feedback on your projects to kind of help you out. So don't hesitate to reach out anytime.
Yep. Just an announcement that Kate asked.
Sargis, how do we get in touch with you guys after this is over if we have a question?
You guys should have my number. Don't you have my number?
I don't know. Do I?
We'll send a contact list out to you guys by email.
Well, you're going to get my email.
You're gonna get an email.
Yeah, you're going to get an email from me directly. You're going to get an email
from the training place. Yeah.
No, you're going to get 2. You're going to get an email from the training place in regards to Butte College's evaluation, but then we'll send out from my email an evaluation, and this is for us so we can improve. There's a standard form that comes out of Butte. Our surveys may be a little more in depth about the use of Mural and the tools and the methodology, because we're trying to improve how we do this, because we know for a fact that we're going to be doing this long distance type activity for a while. And so we've got other training classes that are scheduled with Butte starting in October. So looks like, give me a second here, look at the text that Kate sent me. So we've got the business process mapping classes coming up October 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. It is a 4-session. That class, actually, we're going to use the same tool, by the way, for a different purpose. We're going to use it for process mapping and how to map your internal business processes. You can also use it for your manufacturing, although we have a separate class for that we will be doing later on, which is the value stream mapping for your production lines. We will also be doing in November and November and December, we have a problem solving class that we do, which we will also be using the same tool, different application. To do problem solving and how to approach problem solving in the standardized way. And so we have those 2 classes coming up in the next couple of months with Butte. So if you guys are looking to sign up for some more classes, again, we'll be using the same tool. We'll be doing things a little different. The application's a little different, but you can see that the same tool can be used for many different things. We like to standardize on one thing and use it over and over. Just simplifies things. And you guys are welcome to give us a call anytime. Like I said, my offer still stands. Ralph, if you let me know. I know you guys missed out last Friday. I have no problem spending at least a couple hours with you guys, and just let me know what works with you guys. I'll be happy to do that. And again, you guys are all welcome to give us a call, drop us a note, and maybe we'll see you at the next class. So with that, I think that concludes, like I said, so what's going to happen? So Kate's going to send out an email tomorrow morning. In that email, you'll have the links to the videos from today. You'll have the links. You will also have, I had promised all of you, a bunch of forms and information. So there'll be a bulk of forms and checklists that you can use and you can modify as you please. And there will be a survey coming from Kate. Tomorrow you will also get, actually this afternoon, I will send out our survey, which you'll get this afternoon. and you can fill it out at your leisure. All right, and if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. I mean, we're local. Right now, we're not traveling, which is a good thing. And so we are local. And by the way, Bill, we have no problem having face-to-face meetings. We do that with some of our local guys, and we've kind of done it with some of our further away clients as well. So
Thanks, Jess.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have fun. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Guy.
No.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We gotta go celebrate now.
Go celebrate. That's right. Class is over. Celebrate. It's lunchtime.